Go.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm DJ Moises. Today, we focus on a critical sector during driving the country's economy, the IT business process management industry. And joining us today is Jack Madrid, President and CEO of the IT Business Process Association of the Philippines, or IBPAP, to discuss how the organization is keeping the Philippines competitive and relevant as a prime investment destination for IT-BPM services. Good afternoon, Jack.
Greetings, DJ. It's good to be here.
Yes, and congratulations for hosting another highly successful International IT-BPM Summit.
Well, thank you very much, DJ. I think our summit gets better every year. It was certainly the best one yet. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, that's always the spirit. It's continuous improvement. So, Jack, actually, to start today's conversation, we've actually done our research, and you had an impressive journey in MTV, in Yahoo, and now with IBPAP. So, what drew you to champion the IT BPM cause for the Philippines?
Well, yes, I always like to say, DJ, that one could not, I could never have expected the journey my journey as it has evolved, and the way I describe it is one can never connect the dots forward. I can only connect the dots backward, and that's the only way that this you know th- 30 plus year journey makes sense, starting from my career as a banker in Citibank, uh, and then joining the Ayala Corporation for 9 years. Then my career took a really interesting and exciting turn when I went into media 20, I guess almost 20 years ago, having the opportunity to set up MTV here in the Philippines. Back then, very exciting years. It was a process of needing to reinvent myself, and the reason I mention this is because it's really quite a turning point. And once you get into media, it really opens up a lot of other things that you didn't even think you were capable of. But without that move to MTV, um, I would not, I may not have landed in the IT BPM industry. And let me explain why that is. Because after a few years in MTV, I then, had the opportunity to, uh, to join one of the very first GCCs of the industry at that time. We weren't even calling it GCC. At that time, it was just, I think it was called Captive or In-House, something like that. And it was a company
Yes.
that was set up in the Philippines 2006, I think. The company's Dell. When Michael Dell visited the Philippines in the early 2000s, he was really impressed with what he saw. He saw the talent landscape and decided to set up Dell's first delivery center in the Philippines at the Mall of Asia. And that was the opportunity that was offered to me, and I have to give kudos to Dell for choosing someone from MTV to run their to be one of the leaders of their operation, and that I'll never forget the day that I walked into the Dell facility, seeing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Dell workstations, and that was for my interview, and I remember the image in my head when I saw that, and I actually saw the numbers of jobs that this industry could provide young Filipinos, and I said, "Wow, this is the future of the Philippines." Little did I know that you know over a decade later, I would actually find myself in my present position, being responsible for IBPAP. We are the flagship organization for the IT-BPM industry. And I mean, I guess the rest is history. And not that we're finished. In fact, maybe we're finished with the first chapter of that history. But there's a lot more to come, and I couldn't be couldn't be couldn't describe this more than quite a ride this past 4 years since I took on the role in late 2021. And I couldn't have asked for a more fulfilling responsibility. So the attraction to your question is really just the sheer enormity of you know job generation, and contributing, you know uh, export revenue that accounts for over 8% of the Philippines GDP. I think that in itself, I mean, how many times in one's life can you be given that opportunity? So I certainly have not taken it lightly. Maybe I didn't appreciate it quite as much in the beginning, but certainly, the just the sheer scale of that opportunity, and the size of that responsibility is certainly not lost on me and my team. And that's why we do what we do. uh it's this is really for all of us, for all Filipinos, for the country. And needless to say, we need this. One of the
Mhm.
things that I said at the summit's opening, when I gave my opening remarks, was this industry has become too big to fail. And so
Mhm.
and it is our collective duty to all work together and make this happen.
Yeah. So the IT-BPM, as you said, has been the backbone of the Philippine economy for many years already. And the organization is gearing towards the 2028 roadmap. Can you share to our viewers what the roadmap is?
Well, the IBPAP's Roadmap 2028 is really the industry's blueprint for the strategy, the objectives, and the targets for how we're going to grow the industry. A lot has happened since we launched the roadmap in the fourth quarter of 2022. So we're still only at the midway point of the roadmap, but I can tell you so many things have changed already in the global and local landscape for the industry. However, having said that, because of the resilience of the industry and our talent, we have achieved our growth targets in both export revenue and number of new jobs generated. We will end 2025 with 1.9 million digital Filipino workers. I call that the DFWs. And we would be crossing the $40 billion mark in export revenue, which is the first time we will touch 40 billion. And it's been quite a ride, and the next 3 years are going to be equally exciting, especially with the ongoing geopolitical landscape, as well as the transformative technology, and the changes that it will bring to the way the world works, including IT-BPM. I'm referring, of course, to generative and agentic AI, and how it will impact, augment,
Mhm.
and in some cases disrupt, the nature of our work.
So the roadmap 2028 actually aims for 2.5 million jobs and revenue, no, of 59 billion US dollars, and
Um,
it's good.
those are in our roadmap. We had several different scenarios,
Okay.
DJ. In 2022, when we launched it, we talked about uh, the three different scenarios. Well, actually, only the
Mm,
two different scenarios because
mm,
we obviously had our baseline projections, and then we
mm,
also have we had our aggressive projections.
mm,
I didn't talk about the third scenario, which was the constrained, because
mm,
I didn't want to. I was I think optimistic enough not to even talk about the constraint scenario. So what we talked about when we launched the roadmap was the baseline and the aggressive scenario. Now
mm.
everyone remembers the aggressive scenario, obviously, because it's the bigger number, and it was also a more attention grabbing target, the possibility of adding 1 million new jobs,
Mm,
and 59 billion in revenue was certainly, something that I felt could get the attention that the IT BPM industry at that time needed. And
mm,
obviously, we had just started a new administration to whom IBPAP handed our new roadmap, and I thought, you know, the aggressive scenario of adding 1 million jobs was a very was an effective way to cement the partnership that is needed to
mm,
achieve that goal. No, I'm talking about the partnership between the private sector, the academe, and more, very importantly, the government, because it is
mm,
only that trinity of partners that will position us to have a chance to make this happen. We all have a role to play, and I reiterated that during the summit. So happy to say that midway through the roadmap, we have achieved all our baseline targets. 40
mm,
billion in export revenue this year, 1.9 million DFWs in 2025. Now, the next few years, we all have our aspirations, but it is never easy to predict what will happen next.
mm. Yeah, I would agree, no, because a lot of things have already changed since 2022. So for the benefit of our viewers, Jack, can we articulate the baseline targets that we are now looking at for 2028?
No, technology is moving too fast,
Mm,
uh, more than our ability to predict what will happen. I think the way that I want to answer that question, DJ, is to focus on what we as an industry need to do to
mm,
position us for growth even beyond 2028. No, because I do not, and I have not seen this industry as one that pits one destination versus another. Whenever people talk about the competition with India, I said there's really no competition. There is so much opportunity,
mm,
and roles and jobs and functions for all of us to
mm,
retain our leadership position. India is number one. They have strengths in different areas, but the Philippines is a very solid number two. And
mm,
our job is to really solidify that number two position. This is not a contest. This is just an
mm,
opportunity to maximize the benefits that this industry can contribute to the economy. It's a human capital intensive industry,
mm.
and I think we should protect, upgrade, strengthen, upskill that human capital. and
Mm-hmm.
not worry about you know numbers too much,
Mm-hmm.
because I can say that the opportunities are almost limitless if one just focuses on being prepared for the future where new technologies such as agentic AI
Mm-hmm.
will allow us to change the way we work. And when I say change, I am hopeful that that change
Mm-hmm.
means augment the quality of our work, allowing our
Mm-hmm.
workers to have value added jobs, because AI
Mm-hmm.
will automate repetitive, uh, simple tasks. And
Mm-hmm.
that is not a bad thing, because since the beginning of the industry, we have always talked about how can we get higher value jobs, right? We
Mm-hmm.
always talked about that since the beginning. This is now our opportunity to use AI,
Mm-hmm.
by familiarizing ourselves and learning some new skills to make that happen. And we all want to have more interesting, fulfilling, higher value adding work. But
Mm-hmm.
as an industry and as employers, and leaders of businesses, we need to also change our way of measuring
Mm-hmm.
our industry. No longer is this an industry of just number of jobs. I think we need to begin seriously measuring the industry uh, by the level of capability that the
Mm-hmm.
DFW should aspire to be. And because the more skills you have, the
Mm-hmm.
better, the higher, more complex type of job,
Mm-hmm.
you will be given. And that should be our primary focus,
Mm-hmm.
for us to meet all our goals, whether
Mm-hmm.
and that should really be, I talk about capability, that translates into revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to drill down a little bit more, the metric that
Mm-hmm.
I think we should look at is revenue per employee,
Mm-hmm.
which is a way of measuring capability. The better
Mm-hmm.
you are, the more capable you are, and the more capable you are, the more revenue you produce. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we have our work cut out for us. There will always be a hierarchy of work
Mm-hmm.
within any industry. And in the IT
Mm-hmm.
BPM industry, that hierarchy of work depends on the capability, and
Mm-hmm.
the process that our DFWs are responsible for. Now, the higher up that hierarchy you have, the more revenue you generate, and
Mm-hmm.
that is only possible with higher skills, which is why one of the themes of the summit, of the International IT-BPM Summit, is really the emergence of global capability centers,
Mm-hmm.
GCCs for short. For some years now, we have seen the success of GCC hubs in
Mm-hmm.
India, especially in cities
Mm-hmm.
like Bangalore and Hyderabad. Now, why can't the
Mm-hmm.
Philippines aspire to be like that? And in fact, we are. It's just that we may not have the same kind of focus that India has put on GCCs. India does not even talk about BPO anymore. It's there. It will always be there. But
Mm-hmm.
because of the higher revenue and contribution, and job quality of GCCs, their strategy, their roadmap is actually GCC focused. And
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things I talked about and some of our speakers talked about was really the
Mm-hmm.
importance of positioning the Philippines as the next GCC hub.
Mm-hmm. And Yeah, that's an interesting point. But our viewers in Cebu, no, and we're still trying also to change the understanding of what does the industry do, because a lot of our viewers, I believe, would still call it BPO instead of BPM. So can you help our viewers understand how the industry has already evolved from how we knew it 20 years ago?
Yeah, happy to. And I'm happy to, remind everyone that
Mm,
the city and province of Cebu is a very critical component of our industry, being the second largest domicile for the IT-BPM industry. I believe Cebu has 270,000 digital Filipino workers. That's across the entire province, and I think it has the potential to grow that even more, especially with the much better infrastructure, both digital and physical,
mm,
that has been built in Cebu in the past few years. So, but anyway, the industry has evolved into different sectors, which really means that the nature of the roles, the functions, the processes that our DFWs deliver has really increased in complexity. 20 plus years ago, when this industry began, it was known as the call center industry or the contact center industry. The term BPO came out a little bit after that. But because of those beginnings and the way that certain employers and companies did their recruitment, gave gave the public the perception that the nature of our work was pretty much the same wherever you work. There might have been even a perception that we were doing only simple work. Whether they thought we were just telephone operators, or fulfilling tasks like directory assistance, or very simple tasks like that, gave rise to this perception that the work was simple, it was easy, and maybe that even anyone can do it. Uh, whether or not we started that way, or whether that was true or partly true, I can tell you that that is no longer true today, and so we really must change the way we imagine and perceive the industry, especially today. It is no longer accurate to simply label the entire industry as BPO, and certainly inaccurate to describe us as a call center or contact center industry only. Now, having said that, those remain, contact centers remain, you know, maybe the biggest contributor to the industry, but even those tasks have evolved and grown more complex. But other sectors have emerged. The healthcare sector has grown almost 200,000 employees. The technology sector, software, has also evolved. And then this thing called GCCs, Global Capability Centers, a more recent phenomenon, but that's been going on for decades around the world. But we've only started to talk about that a little bit late here in the Philippines. But even without talking about it, we already became the number two GCC hub. We have 170 GCCs in the country. Some of them are in Cebu, like JP Morgan, and it's still growing.
mhm,
And I believe we have 260,000 employees in the GCC sector in the Philippines. So, and it's the fastest growing. And as I
Mhm.
said earlier, it has the highest revenue per employee. So this is the kind of job that I want young Filipinos to aspire if they consider the IT BPM industry. It's not to say BPOs are not important. No, they will always be important. But there is also another option, depending on your
Mhm.
skill set, depending on your experience, depending on what you want to do, uh, to other domains and other skills. So my message is we should all reimagine the IT BPM industry uh, as a place where one can build one's career over the long run because there will always be opportunities and we are not a one dimension industry doing simple tasks. We
Mhm.
have globally impactful and meaningful work for our global customers.
Mm. We've actually, the general public has a good appreciation of what the IT-BPM industry has been doing for the Philippine economy, no? But like every journey, it's not always a happy path. So what are the challenges that the industry is facing right now, and how is IBPAP bridging these challenges?
Wow, that's a very long question. What are the challenges of the industry? Wow, we will need a few hours for that. But
Just the top ones.
well, well, they're all tough, DJ. But I'll stick to what I think is the most important.
Mhm.
I think I still think I'm gonna talk about talent, obviously, but the
Mhm.
first thing I want to say is that we continue to need to address the ease of doing business
Mhm.
because when investors come to the Philippines, when investors decide on establishing operations in the Philippines, there's a lot of time and effort to make that
Mhm.
kind of decision. But that decision to invest, and we do a pretty good job. I'm talking about IBPAP and our partners in government in attracting investors. And when they decide, obviously it's good news for the country, but that includes making promises to these investors, promises that take the form of incentives, quality of infrastructure, and the assurance of available talent supply, which I'll talk about later.
Mhm.
But the ease of doing business is really about a stable regulatory environment wherein promises made with respect to fiscal incentives, um, and availability of uh, I guess quality workspaces,
Mhm.
quality of infrastructure, whether it's digital connectivity, or physical infrastructure. A big part of the growth story has really been growth of the industry outside Manila. And so, the questions, why should we go to Cebu? Why should we go to Davao, Clark? Uh, more recently, why should we go to Iloilo or Bacolod? Um, because there have been questions of infrastructure. So, and fortunately, in the past years, the digital cities that IBPAP has supported, you know, uh, include better infrastructure, digital and physical, airports, roads, stable power supply, um, roads and transport, conveniently located sites and office spaces. Because a lot of we're a 24/7 industry, so we need to have these infrastructure components available to our workforce. So all of this need to be stable, whether it's policy, rules, how taxes are computed and paid. These are all promises made when an investor comes. So the
Mm,
ease of doing business is really about making good on those promises. And sometimes the Philippines doesn't do a very good job. In sometimes we face inconsistent interpretation, implementation of rules. Yesterday at the policy and regulatory discussion, the ease of doing business was discussed, and I won't forget. We did a live questionnaire amongst the audience on identifying what the biggest problems were, and it was very clear that a very big topic yesterday was the frequently encountered issues with specific LGUs
mm,
um, by our investors. Fortunately, Cebu was not f- you know prominently cited as compared to some of the other LGUs. So this is important, because even after an investor chooses the Philippines, the next discussion is where in the Philippines, and if Cebu or Iloilo or any LGU in Manila wants to attract these investors, we need to be we need to make sure that we um, abide by our excuse me, end of the bargain. We want
mm,
them to locate in our LGU. We have to treat them uh, well and fairly, and all they want is, because they're very compliant, right?
mm,
They will comply, but what we don't want to happen is to be taken is to be subject to inconsistent and wrong implementation of rules and
mm,
regulations that have already been agreed, whether they
mm,
be and this can range from the issuance of local business permits to
mm,
to, to taxes or needless red tape, like annual submission of health certificates, things like that, right? I mean,
mm,
obviously, we cannot let our investors spend a lot of time with administrative tasks. We
mm,
want them to be successful in their operations. We should not make it harder for them by finding ways to tax them more. They are compliant. They will pay their taxes. Let's not make it any harder for them. It's as simple as that. Because if we do that, they just might make a decision to leave and
mm,
say, you know what, why am I even here? I'm just going to move all of this to India, to Vietnam, to South Africa. So we will investors will comply, but only but they will not want to be taken advantage of. So that I could talk for a long time about this, but that's the ease of doing business. And
mm,
obviously, the availability of employable talent is another big issue. The Philippines has some advantages there because we do have the demographic advantage of being the youngest country in Asia.
mm,
So we have 700 to 800,000 college graduates a year now. But the challenge is not that number. The challenge is what percentage of that number, of that talent pool, is employable by our industry. And we need to do a better job in converting uh, a higher percentage of job seekers from the people we interview.
Mm-hmm.
and just go straight to the point. And the talent gap that exists is a result of you know combination of skills gaps that I would describe on one side as being specific domain skills. Aside
Mm-hmm.
from the need for more nurses, we need more accountants, we need more analysts, we need more bankers. Um, so that's domain. Um, but the other equally important, maybe more important part is the bucket of skills that include comprehension, critical thinking, creativity, communication, uh, and something also important we already have, but it's worth saying is empathy. But
Mm-hmm.
empathy alone will not be enough.
Mm-hmm.
We need domain skills. We need and we need and we need to strengthen our comprehension and problem solving.
Mhm. You have already articulated a portion of it, but I think part of the discussion, also the side discussions during the summit, is on the declining literacy and comprehension of our senior high graduates now. And these are results also coming from international and even local assessments. How big is the gap, and how is this potentially going to impact further the talent pipeline of the Philippines?
So sorry, your question is how big is the gap?
Yes, because it's we have international and local assessments that measure literacy
Well,
level of senior high graduates, and it's
yeah,
declining.
yeah. I don't know or understand specifically how these tests and surveys work. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't I can't say necessarily how accurate they are, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's safe to say that there is enough evidence to show that we need to improve.
Mm-hmm.
We should not be motivated only by rankings
Mm-hmm.
or by the embarrassment of being last or second to last. I think the motivation should not be that. I think the
Mm-hmm.
motivation should be to just be better, and not do things so that our rankings will improve, because I don't really know how accurate those things are, but there's enough of it to suggest, plus our
Mm-hmm.
anecdotal evidence to suggest that we can be so much better. We can be so
Mm-hmm.
much better in communication. Let's stop thinking that we are that that our English skills are as fluent as they were before. We have to stop that now. We're still in a bit of a state of denial. And it's hard for me to say that, but I used to really think we were an English speaking country. Now, there's nothing wrong with not being one, but let's not believe that anymore, because we're really not, right. uh, and I guess if you look at those rankings, it suggests that we're not. I mean, we're one of the poorest ranked in English, um, whatever rankings you look at.
Mm-hmm.
So but our motivation should not be that. Our motivation should be, hey, can I get the jobs that I want? The fact
Mm-hmm.
is, only 15 at best out of every 100 can get jobs. Out of 100 that we interview as an industry, only 15 get interviewed. Get job offers.
Hard.
So
Mm-hmm.
let that be the motivation, no, not rankings.
Mm-hmm. And there are also positive developments that we heard, especially on the early part of the year about government allocating a specific amount for TESDA for upscaling of IT-BPM employees. So from your perspective, how big of an impact this could make in terms of addressing the talent gap?
Well, every little bit helps.
Mm,
But that's not the problem. The problem, well, let me not use the word problem. The challenge is in ensuring that the curriculum, the details of the training program, uh,
mm,
be relevant and be integrated with what the private sector needs. And that's the only way we can strengthen this education to employment path, which is
mm,
what TESDA is all about, right?
mm,
So this is not a question of funding. The funding, I believe, is available. Where we are right now with this program, which is called EBEP,
mm,
is really streamlining the policy and operational procedures of qualifying uh, training providers
mm,
uh, towards um, and connecting that with the learners that you know amongst the IT BPM industry workforce, right? Who who are applying and interested for these reskilling programs. I mean, it's so. What I'm talking about is really uh, the the success of this program being determined by our ability to streamline and comply with these processes of registering, accrediting, and
mm,
implementing the learning.
mm,
So it's not a question of funding, it's not a question of intent, but I think it's really streamlining processes that will comply with TESDA's internal processes that are also reasonable for the private sector to comply, because the private sector will upskill regardless.
mm,
For
mm,
us to grow, we will upskill, and our industry has grown because the private sector continues that,
mm,
and that's a big investment. Whether all our members invest in 4, 6, 8 weeks of training for all
mm,
its new hires before they go live. So
mm,
that's a very big investment. When you hire someone and have to train them for 6, 8 weeks before they go into production, that's quite a big investment. And so the private sector will continue to invest in that. Obviously, we would be very interested and want to leverage on the TESDA program and the DICT programs for upskilling the existing workforce. But it's a question of really streamlining some processes so that we can efficiently process these applications and start the learning as soon as possible. That
mm,
that's really it.
mm. You've mentioned also earlier about geopolitics, though, and how it's also evolving.
Yes.
And you're still,
Yeah. I need 30 minutes. I'm on a media interview right now. Thank you. Sorry about that, DJ.
no, it happens. Anyway, so going back, you've mentioned earlier about geopolitics and how it's also evolving. And part of our viewers would most likely be interested also about the proposed legislation in the US right now about Keep Call Centers in America Act, no, which could potentially discourage offshoring and could impose certain penalties and requirements also of disclosures. So, how closely is the IT-BPM industry or IBPAP monitoring this development?
Well, yeah, we've been aware of this for quite some time. Do I does it keep me up at night? No, it doesn't. We have other more pressing problems than that. But it is an issue that we need to continue to monitor. I don't know how realistic it is for that bill to pass. Economically, I don't think it makes sense for American companies to have to spend five times more by
Mhm.
keeping these jobs in America. That's my first comment. Second comment, I don't know how many Americans would be interested in these kinds of jobs. Um, and third, I just don't think it makes economic sense.
Mhm.
Obviously, if it passes, it will be an issue. But right now, we're monitoring it, but it doesn't keep me up at night.
So, okay, which is actually good, no, because it also speaks that there's urgency, but the likelihood of that to be a problem is not that much. So now, after talking about the headwinds, let's talk more about the tailwinds. No, so can you tell us more about what are the opportunities that the Philippines can leverage given the evolving IT BPM sector worldwide?
Well, the opportunity is there. It's facing us. It's ours. It's ours to take. Uh, if we want to grow, we need to take responsibility for our lifelong learning journey. And that is my message to everyone in the industry, outside the industry, to every Filipino. Let us not use the excuse of government or cost or time because, education has changed, and the way one gets educated, acquires education, the way one learns in the history of the world has never been as easy as it is today. 50 years ago, you had to have the resources to attend a good high school and university, get admitted, physically report to work, have the budget for tuition, books, living expenses. Now, everyone has a phone. A lot of these courses are available. One of our speakers yesterday said that he learned AI on YouTube. We all spend time on YouTube. So let's not complain that we are not learning anything. It's there. We just need to want it. We just need to just take personal responsibility, and let's not use the excuse of I don't have money, I can't afford tuition, because I'm a big believer in the need to reinvent education.
Mhm.
I think we should really move from a credential based education program to a skills based curriculum, because it
Mhm.
is skills, not college degree necessarily, that will get you that will get you employment or allow you to be a successful entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So
And
it's really that. I don't know, that's a very sort of strong, bold statement, that not everyone will agree with, but it's okay. We all have different opinions on this, but I really think that skills are changing so fast, uh, because the jobs are changing so fast. AI is going to change how we work, And so we just need to be very I would say do a better job in preparing for the future. But I'm still optimistic. But personal responsibility for your learning is number one in my books.
Mm. Actually, you were right earlier when you said that you wish we have the whole day to have this conversation. So before and we're grateful actually for making time and for you to join us today in Beyond the Headlines. But before I let you go, Jack, I still would like to ask though, what is your boldest hope for the IT BPM industry in the Philippines?
Boldest hope. Well, I would love I would love to see in 2 3 years time. I would love to see us become known as the most promising and desirable GCC hub for the world. Today, the clear leader is India. I would just like to be the next one, uh, and I mean that not by measuring it in number, but by measuring it in capability. The population difference between India and the Philippines is too big. We will never. It'll take a long time for us to cross 1 billion, and I hope we don't. But certainly in terms of capability, I would like to be comparable. I would like the Philippines to be comparable to India because of the capability of a Philip of the Filipino digital worker. That's really it. I think it's realistic. I think it makes sense. I think it can be done, but we need to all work collectively together towards that goal.
So once again, thank you very much, Jack, for joining us today. So for our viewers, Jack Madrid is the president and CEO of the IT Business Process Association of the Philippines, or IBPAP. So that wraps up today's edition of Beyond the Headlines, and we hope today's conversation helps shed light on the bigger picture and the opportunities of the IT BPM industry. So I'm DJ, and thank you and good afternoon.